Yeah, so welcome everyone. And this is our success series that offers a variety of tools geared towards success and general well being. And I'm happy to have all of you here this afternoon, or if you plan on watching it at a later time. And if this is your first time attending, like I mentioned, all the other previous recordings are loaded onto YouTube, which are easily accessible for you to watch. But I would like to thank the Allen University Office of Counseling and Placement for hosting this lunchtime series. And my name is Christina Herbin, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and owner of Harmony Counseling Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I work primarily with college age students and young adults, really helping them work through stress, anxiety, and just life transitions. And I facilitate various wellness workshops. Today's agenda will cover more about goal setting, and specific attention is needed for us to establish clear goals along with concrete steps on how to accomplish those goals. So, without goals, it's so easy for us as individuals or students to just get overwhelmed by all the opportunities that we have, opportunities as a college student and just beyond as we transition into adulthood. So, we're going to spend some time exploring ways to develop an action plan that can help you on your goal setting journey for success. We'll look at some barriers and we'll look at some strategies. I always like to start with just some general ground rules. So, safety. So, in this space and around our conversations, it's important for you to feel free to share and participate if you like, but know that you're not forced to share in this space. And there's no judgment. And don't hesitate to seek out additional support or resources from individuals on campus or in your own personal life if you need to discuss anything further that we talk about today. And then responsibility. So just take responsibility for your own learning and your interactions today and in the future by using I statements or just sharing more about your own personal accounts and not to speak for others or all other people. And the next is respect. So it's important for us to embody a level of respect with how we treat one another by just being polite and kind. And then lastly, interactive as best we can in this virtual setting. So being able to unmute yourself to share or using the chat box are other options for us to engage in this interactive space. But we're going to start just having more of a general conversation about goals. And when we think about goals, there's a lot of ways to define it, which we'll look at later. But I first want to pose some questions. So, do you know what you want to have achieved by the end of today? And have you thought about what you want to be doing next year or 5 years from now? And are you clear about what you want this next phase of your life to look like after college? Whether that means you getting a job, going to grad school, or taking a gap year. Like these are sample questions we can think and ask ourselves. And for us to experience success, we need to set goals. These goals can be daily, weekly, yearly. So it's without goals, we're likely to lack focus and direction. I like to use this analogy of just a mountain. So suppose if anyone is into hiking or any type of trek or journey you've ever taken, we can use this analogy. So suppose you have a plan to hike up this mountain to really reach that flag. or to reach a goal, what would you take to get to the top of this mountain if you were to hike this mountain? And take a minute to reflect, and you can type in the chat box and share. But what would you take with you to help you get to the top of this mountain here? If you've ever seen mountain hikers or someone climbing a mountain, typically they would have a backpack with them. And think about what are some of those things we would carry with us as we prepare to hike up a mountain. Yeah, and I'm hearing just being able to type in the chat about this idea of just having some personality traits or qualities, just having determination, having grit. And when I think about just this idea of this journey of trying to go up a mountain, think of some of those tangible things we would need, whether it's water, maybe bring a cell phone, food, bringing a backpack, a compass, like all these tools and resources that we need. Because would you ever set out on any major journey to hike a mountain without a plan? Or would you ever set out without resources? And when we think about this planning process of what we need to take for us to accomplish any goal that we set for ourselves, it's important for us to be knowledgeable about what resources I have or how can I feel prepared. And there's a famous quote by Zig Ziglar, who's an author and motivational speaker, who shared, "Success occurs when opportunity meets preparation." So we have to do as much preparation to help us accomplish the goal. So we have to apply the same concept of the mountain to our lives. We have to plan and use our resources. And some of us can get caught up in the success, and we don't think about the journey or how much work it takes to accomplish any goal that we set for ourselves. So if you are serious about achieving your goal, like what type of sacrifices are you willing to make? Like, how will I stay motivated? Like, how will I use my time wisely, knowing that every individual in this world has 24 hours in a day? So having the goal is the easy part. Like, who wouldn't want to achieve goals? The real challenge is how willing are you to go through the journey? And some of us were up for that challenge. Like, we have goals, we have the determination, we have the grit, like we have it in us to really seek out a particular goal. But for others, some of us may need to start with a smaller goal. And once we experience that smaller goal, we're able to have a level of accomplishment to help us work toward a larger goal that we've set for ourselves, and really just to boost our confidence. So small goals can add up to a big goal. So it's necessary. So it's necessary for us to acknowledge that it's okay to set smaller goals. It's not always a bad thing as long as we're strategically working up for a big end goal that we have in mind. We don't want to set small goals that we become so unmotivated or we become less ambitious. Like we need to experience a level of challenge for us to reap the benefits and reward of really pursuing something that you've worked so hard to achieve. Having a challenge can really invigorate our lives and it can add a level of self mastery, especially if we have the resources to really face that challenge at hand. We don't want any barriers such as fear of failure or fear of success really to get in the way of us with setting certain goals or reaching certain goals. We shouldn't always shy away from an opportunity just to avoid the possibility of failure. There is a 100% chance that you will not achieve a goal if you don't try. So it's important for us to think bigger. Like pick a goal that's so big that it will motivate you each day to strive to attain it. Pick a goal that you're willing to spend hours working on. Picking a goal that you're willing to sacrifice, maybe watching TV or playing video games, really to pursue a goal that you've set for yourself. And then we have these dream goals. So, dream goals, or some may call them like these unrealistic goals, it's something you shouldn't necessarily shy away from either. If you feel something is very hard to attain or difficult, or if someone told you that it's not possible, this is an opportunity to really prove to yourself like what you're capable of. These dream goals, they really require a large amount of effort, dedication, and you getting out of your comfort zone and taking risk. A notable example is former President Barack Obama, who was told that he could never be president because we've never had a Black president before. Even his own wife, Michelle Obama, didn't initially believe that her husband could have won the presidency in 2008. And I'm sure many of us can remember that moment when Barack Obama achieved his goal of becoming president and also getting reelected for a second term. We've had other moments of individuals achieving a goal, like with Vice President Kamala Harris becoming the first woman and person of color in this role, with the promise that she won't be the last woman in this office. This shines a light on goals people have pursued in their lives of something that didn't exist before, even things that we use in everyday life, like the invention of a light bulb, the internet, something like Zoom, or cell phones or airplanes. All these things required someone imagining or dreaming about something that didn't exist. And being able to challenge yourself and set a dream goal requires a hardworking person who is willing to pave their own way and to pave their own path. And just because the flag or our goals are out of reach, there's no factual evidence saying that we cannot accomplish them. So look at how we define goals and their purpose. So goals really help to activate us to pursue behaviors or actions that align with the goals we have set for ourselves. Goals can help us shift our focus towards incremental improvements or these small milestones, all with the intent of helping us to reach this bigger goal that we have. This helps us to really sustain this momentum in life to move in a direction. And if you take enough steps in the right direction, you'll get to where you want to be. And lastly, it's helpful to really track progress toward a goal. So you will have a way to measure success or measure the fact that you attain a particular goal. Or it could serve as what tweaks or changes do I have to make along the way. But tracking progress can also help with a sense of self mastery to say that I did it. And as we work, even if we set those small goals, we can still build confidence to know that we're capable of pursuing bigger goals or our dream goals. But we talk about how it's so easy for us to have a goal, and some of us forget about the fact that we have to acknowledge the journey to get there. Like everyone wants to, we think about the Olympics coming up this year, everyone wants to get that gold medal, but no one wants to train like an Olympian. Like think about how much work and sacrifice, dedication it takes for us to accomplish any goal that we set for ourselves. And knowing we are all honestly capable of achieving goals, and we have to be willing to acknowledge like what are some barriers that can get in the way. So some barriers can be having lack of direction, a lack of clarity, or having low motivation. These are some things that are likely to really get in the way of us setting goals and achieving goals. But goal setting is an extremely important part of being a successful student and an emerging adult. So now is it's imperative that you begin to formulate goals for yourself as you're working toward creating the life that you want for yourself. So we're going to walk through the SMART goal formula really to help us establish a goal for ourselves. And we'll practice this today in our session now, but this is a tool that you can use in everyday life, really to help you put into perspective what goals you are trying to accomplish and what goals you're working towards. So, a SMART goal is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So, this approach is to create an objective plan or a clear roadmap of what it is you're trying to achieve or your target goal. And when you create a SMART goal, you're able to really minimize the confusion and really to offer a level of clarity for you to create a clear path and for you to achieve the results that you want in your life. So goal setting is a helpful way for us to experience success. And this is an intentional process to work toward. And it's intentional because it does require our continual efforts, especially if this is something that we want to achieve. So we're going to walk through being able to put this into practice. And as we think about putting this tool into practice and knowing that this is a technique you can use in your day to day life, I want you really to begin thinking about a goal that you would like to accomplish today. And this could be a goal that you'd like to accomplish today, in a week, a year, or a couple years. But allow yourself time just to self reflect on a goal that you would like to work towards that we can put into practice today? And for some of you, SMART goals can really serve as a refresher if it's something you're already familiar with. So being able to utilize the SMART goal formula. And as you're reflecting on something for your goal that will work towards, think of something you really value. Allow yourself to think big, to have a dream goal, or if you want to keep it small, think of something that we are trying to get off our to-do list today. And as you think about this particular goal of what you would like to accomplish today, in a week, or in a year, a couple years, you don't have to share the particular goal with anyone. Like you can keep that to yourself for the purpose of this activity today. But know that you are honestly the only one capable of achieving this goal. So it's important really to spend some time thinking about why this goal is important for you. So I'll give you just one more minute to self reflect, but think about what that goal is that you want us to work towards using the SMART formula. So hopefully you have a particular goal in mind, and you're more than welcome just to write things down or just keep that mental note in your head as we go through each of the letters of the SMART formula. But first, we really need to be specific. So we have to be as clear as possible of what it is you want to achieve. The more you narrow your goal, the more you'll understand the steps necessary to achieve it. So take a minute to think about how I can be even more specific with my goal of what do I want to accomplish? And as you reflect on your particular goals, I'm going to just share some examples. So let's say a person, and these are all goals geared towards students of whether it's a daily goal, um, a goal after you graduate, or a goal that's um, having a gap year, a year of time. But let's say you have a goal for today, a daily goal. My goal could be I will submit my English paper before midnight today. Or let's say you're just graduating. Like, I will obtain a job within 3 months of graduating college. And then I will apply to graduate school in 1 year. Yeah, so being very clear and specific about what it is that you want to accomplish, which once we have that vision or that goal in mind, then we can really think about how to make it happen. And then I hear others being able to type in the chat box, being able to be a business owner or to own my own sports store. Mhm. The next thing for us to think about is how will we measure our progress toward this goal? Like, what evidence will prove that you're making progress toward your specific goal? We really want to think about things that are quantifiable to measure the progress. So, this could be a time to add in some number or some quantity or time point. So, take for instance, to make it measurable, going back to our first example of I will complete about 3 to 5 pages of this paper by 5 p.m. Or going back to applying for a job, like I will apply for 50 jobs and have 10 interviews. Or when you think about applying to graduate school, like I will research 15 grad programs and apply for 10. So knowing that you have this goal in mind, how can we make it quantifiable? Like what are some numbers or time that we can add into our goal? So take a minute to reflect and think about what that would look like for you. And adding a number really helps us to set these milestones to make sure that we're working towards accomplishing a particular goal. And whenever we achieve a certain milestone, it's important to remember to reward ourselves, no matter how small. And the fact that it's small, it's still meaningful to know that we're taking these smaller steps, which is getting us closer to our bigger goal. So once we've made our goal measurable, the next step is achievable. Have you actually set an achievable goal? Is this a goal that's reasonably something that you're able to accomplish within a certain time frame that will help you stay motivated? And knowing that it's achievable, like what are the logical steps I should take to accomplish this goal? Or how can this goal be accomplished? And if we look at the examples here of achievable, we know that there's a necessity for going back to the paper, the English paper that's due today. To make sure that it's an achievable goal, I have to ensure that I've read the paper instructions and that I can spend some time completing the sections that are due as I work toward getting this paper in before midnight. Or going back to the job example, like I have the ability to make sure that I'm tailoring my resume or that I actually have a working resume and that I could submit to the job portals to let it be known that I'm applying for this position. And then for being able to apply to grad school, I'm willing to put in research to explore the different program requirements and maybe set up some meetings with admissions just to learn more about these programs to see if they're a good fit for me. So you should know the experience, the skills, or the credentials, or the logistical steps that are really required for you to achieve any goal that you set for yourself. And then I'm hearing the example in the chat, like let's say if you are wanting to be a business owner, to make this goal achievable, like you're willing to take the courses, take an accounting course or take a business strategies course or other classes, really to give you the knowledge to achieve this goal and to experience success. And the next part of the SMART formula is like relevant or realistic. So we see these terms used a lot. So when setting goals for yourself, it's important to consider whether or not this goal is relevant to you or worthwhile. Each of your goals should align with your values, and each goal should align with this larger vision that you have for yourself. And if this goal doesn't really contribute toward the broader objective or this goal you have for yourself, this may be a time to really rethink it and ask yourself, why is this goal important to you? And how will achieving it help you and contribute you to attaining more of your long-term goals? So take a minute just to reflect on your own and really ask yourself each of these questions here. And as you explore your own goal that you've set for yourself, let's go back to the example that we've been working on together. So we think about the relevancy or how realistic this goal is for me to achieve or why it's meaningful. Like, I really need to get this paper in because I would like to graduate on time. Or I know that this goal of applying for jobs after graduation and obtaining a job, it's because I want to pursue positions that align with my degree. Knowing that I've spent 4 years or however many years attaining this particular degree. Or for those interested in going to grad school, maybe it's meaningful and significant for me to pursue higher education because I love education and I want to learn more. So, really spend that time reflecting on why this goal is so worthwhile for you and why is it relevant to you as an individual. So, the last letter of this is the T, so time based or more timely. So, what is your goal time frame? And having an end date can really help provide that motivation and can help us with prioritizing our time effectively and efficiently. And knowing that even the most successful people that we know, they still have 24 hours in the day, just as much as you and any other human being here. So setting a realistic time frame, whether it be in a year, in hours, or week, it really helps us to accomplish the goal and achieve the goal. And let's say for whatever reason we don't accomplish a goal in a certain time frame, that's also helpful data for us to really explore the why. Maybe your time frame might have been unrealistic, or you might have run into some barriers, or your goal might have been unachievable. So setting a time frame could help us to reevaluate what things we need to shift or change, especially if we don't accomplish it in the time frame. But if we do, then we know that that's a time for celebration, to know that we've worked hard on this journey to accomplish or achieve a goal. And as you can see, each of these goals are getting this English paper due before midnight on the same day, that's 24 hours, or taking 3 months with a plan to secure employment. Or let's say a person who decides to take a gap year and take a year off from college to grad school, but being intentional about that year by exploring like what are my options to pursue or to continue my education. So we know that the SMART goal, it's a helpful strategy that can be used to help us accomplish a goal, whether it be a daily goal. So think about how you can use the SMART formula for things that you want to accomplish in a day. It can be used for our short-term goals. So think about goals that we have set out for months out or even semester by semester. Think of the goals that you're working to accomplish. And then we know SMART goals can be used for long-term goals, really to help us accomplish a particular goal. And we could set out a year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever that time frame may look like. But the fact is that we're clear and that we're concise about what it is that we're working towards. Another thing to be mindful of is this idea of comparison, which I know that we all fall guilty into comparing ourselves to others. It's important for us to think about success looks different for each person. Like we all each have unique goals that we hope to accomplish, and we all may have our own way of defining success in our lives. We each have unique strengths and talents that we can pursue, and knowing that we each have our own talents and gifts means that we can also experience success in them. So each individual is entitled to establish whatever goals they set for themselves, as long as they're willing to do the work and accomplish them. And just because your goal's different from your friends or your family, it doesn't mean that it isn't worthwhile. Like what matters most is what you think about this goal and how meaningful it is for you to achieve it. And tracking your progress is what matters most, and not comparing your journey to another, since each person's path may look different. And once you reach the goal, no matter how big or small the goal may be, you can reward yourself by attaining a level of success and confidence and fulfillment and a sense of self mastery, just to know that you are capable of accomplishing goals. And whether it be us working towards like our big goals or small goals, each of these are ways for us to know that we are capable of experiencing success in our life. And I like just, for example, just being able to share the goal in the chat, like what stood out to you, and knowing you're never forced to share your goals with another, knowing that you're the one that's going to be doing the work. But it is nice, especially if it's something that you're really excited and looking forward to. So I want to open it up and spend some time just reflecting on a few discussion questions related to our topic for today on goal setting. So feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat box as you go over these questions here. So when you think about just using the SMART goal formula, reflect on if you found this process helpful for you. Or maybe this is something you've used in the past and you can maybe share what it was like for you. The other question to think about is like, what are some possible barriers that sometimes can get in the way of us achieving our goals? And knowing that each of us have our own unique goals, and each of us are also likely to have our own unique barriers or challenges. So just to really troubleshoot and problem solve of what could be those potential barriers that could get in the way. And then lastly, how many of you have really created your dream list of goals that you would like to accomplish? But I'll open it up and like I said, you can share and reflect on anything that stands out to you based on what we talked about today. So take a minute and just reflect on your own. Yes, I'm hearing in the chat box how this is a helpful guideline to have really to create strategies to achieve goals. That is a really great tool and could see some use or benefit from having it. Mhm. I'm hearing some of the barriers that can get in the way is just staying focused. So focus is a huge one, which being human, our focus can stray to other matters and other things. So it really takes a lot of dedication and commitment for us to really stay focused and to always remind us of that bigger goal. Like, why am I putting myself through all this or working towards this goal? Knowing how meaningful it is. And then I see time could be a barrier. So we always either overestimate how much time we have or underestimate how much time we have. So being able to write it down concretely will really help us to put into perspective. And research shows that writing down your goals gives you a 42% to 80% chance of actually achieving them. So getting in the habit of getting it out of our mind and just writing it out, writing it down actually increases our chance of achieving them. And then, like I mentioned, this process of the SMART goal helps us to make it more concrete. So, writing down exactly what your dream goals are, or what it is you want to achieve, and not being afraid to dream big. Like I know we discussed individuals who pretty much done the unthinkable. And who says that this cannot be you? So setting your goals high, being consistent, staying focused, staying motivated, putting in the work are all ways to help you accomplish a goal. Yeah, and I'm hearing another question in the chat box of, do you have any tips to stay on track to achieve? And what happens when you fall short, when you fail at short-term goals and achieving your long-term goals? Yeah, so one helpful thing is staying on track is the reason why we make it measurable is so that we can track progress. And as we track progress and reach some aspect of our goal, we can't be afraid to celebrate those small successes. Like give ourselves a pat on the back because we know that positive reinforcement motivates us to do it again or do more of it. So don't be afraid to celebrate your successes and celebrate even the smallest steps that you make. So that's why tracking your progress is a core aspect of setting a SMART goal. And as anything, to stay on track to achieve it, we have to remind ourselves of why we're putting ourselves through this. What are we willing to sacrifice? Like, what are the things that we're willing to do in order to accomplish this goal? And why is it so meaningful for us? And sometimes asking those tough questions can really put into perspective what steps I need to take today to get to this goal. And the last question was, if you fail at your short-term goals, yeah, so failure is also time to learn a lesson from that. So if we feel that we failed at some type of short-term goal we've set, this is a time to rethink our goals and to figure out what tweaks or changes I need to make in order to help me accomplish my long-term goals. So I don't even view it failing at a short-term goal is just me having to take learn it's not taking an L, it's just taking an L in a way to learn a lesson. But just to summarize, success is something that's in the reach of all of us if we're willing to put in the work. And there will be some struggles along the way, and it's just always have in the back of your mind the reason for setting and making this goal. But thank you all for attending today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and that you'll just get right at it with setting goals for yourself, really to help you accomplish the things that you plan to achieve in your life.
Thank you, Christina. I know the hour is almost up probably, huh?